Ryan Finley is the third starting quarterback for the Bengals.
We did not know until right now who the quarterback would be. It happens to be the fourth different starting quarterback this year.
Ryan Finley having himself a good old time.
He has outplayed the Heisman Trophy candidate Drake May for the most part throughout this game.
There are countless stories in American sports where players pop up out of nowhere and are absolutely unstoppable for a short period of time and then vanish as quickly as they appeared. Players like Jeremy Lin.
Lin for three. Bang!
Colin Kaepernick.
Colin Kaepernick! What a game!
Philip Lindsay.
There's Lindsay. He's a dart.
And pretty much any quirked up white boy that can shoot threes for a Cinderella team in March Madness.
Goalkey makes it in! Header. Kaboom! Wow. Corner. Oh, bullseye!
The stories of all these players are so unique, though, that the only conclusion we can make is that none of them are related. It's gotta be completely random. But what if this is a trait that's in their blood? Some part of their DNA that makes them rise to the occasion when the world needs them most, and then fall back to obscurity when their job is done. This is a theory that all hinges upon two brothers, Ryan and Ben Finley. Ryan and Ben both grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, playing as quarterbacks for Paradise Valley High School. Ryan, the older brother, graduated in 2013 as a three-star prospect and committed to Boise State to play in college. But after 2 years of riding the bench and a season cut short by an ankle injury his sophomore year, Finley would transfer to NC State to follow his offensive coordinator, Eli Drinkwitz. Not much was really known about his potential at this point, but after a pretty decent season in 2016, Ryan grew into a star player his last 2 years for the Wolfpack, leading NC State to back-to-back 9-win seasons and earning first-team All-ACC honors in 2018, ahead of players like Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence. His impressive senior year, on top of a pretty decent performance at the NFL Combine, led to the Bengals selecting him in the 4th round, where he would learn behind the Red Rifle himself, Andy Dalton. Unfortunately, the 2019 Bengals were not a great team to be a part of. After starting the season 0-8, Andy Dalton was benched to see what the rookie might be able to cook up against old ACC rival Lamar Jackson, but Ryan fell flat, leading the offense to just 13 points to the Ravens' 49. After 2 more lackluster games, Dalton stepped back in and was able to salvage 2 more wins before the year ended, but the damage was already done, and the Bengals drafted Joe Burrow to take the starting role the next year, with Finley set up as his backup. It didn't take long to realize that quarterback play was not the issue with the Bengals' woes in 2020, because even with a Heisman winner under center, they were still a bottom feeder team. The most glaring problem with the Bengals offense was their pass protection, since Burrow was sacked 32 times in just 11 games. This came to a peak in their game against the Washington football team, where Burrow was sacked 4 times and taken off the field with a season-ending knee injury. FedEx Field strikes again. But on the bright side, this is the perfect moment for Ryan Finley to do his thing. I mean, obviously, you don't want Joe Burrow to get injured. He's a nice guy. Everybody loves him. But now is the time for Ryan Finley to show who he actually is and that he can play just as well as anyone else. Oh, he went 3 for 10 and threw a pick. Yeah, Zach Taylor saw that and immediately was like, nope, Brandon Allen time. Allen's stats for the next 3 games were not much of an improvement, but after leaving with a leg injury late in the game against the Cowboys, Finley suddenly became the Bengals' only hope for their next matchup on Monday Night Football against the 11-2 NFC North leading Pittsburgh Steelers. The game started off slow with 4 straight 3-and-outs, but after a botched snap, the Bengals suddenly had a short field to work with, and Finley got so close to the end zone, he could almost taste it. But then he got sacked and they had to settle for a field goal. Not much later, Juju got absolutely rocked. Taste the turf. This time, Finley was able to march the offense down the field and set up a 4-yard touchdown from Gio Bernard. Then the Steelers turned it over a 3rd time, and this time Finley got his first touchdown pass of the season by connecting with Bernard. With a semi-comfortable lead, the Bengals slowed down and left the door open for the Steelers to come back and gain momentum. But just when everyone thought that he was going to fall flat like he had in the past, he turned the Jets on and led the team to an 80-yard drive that ended with him running 23 yards right down the middle of the field and into the end zone. Do you realize how stupid that is? He had more yards in that one play than he did in his entire 2018 All-ACC season with NC State. That boy had no right moving like that right down the gullet of one of the strongest defenses in the league, but by golly, he did it anyways because he's Ryan Finley. Put some respect on his name. After holding on and winning the biggest upset of the entire year in the NFL, Ryan Finley would never see the field again. He was traded to the Texans in the offseason, but was waived just a couple months later, and he never returned to a roster. Just like that, his time of playing football had ended, but for his younger brother Ben, it was just starting. Ben Finley followed in his older brother's footsteps as a standout 3-star recruit out of high school and committed to NC State for the 2020 season. Finley redshirted his freshman year, but since the Wolfpack struggled to find a consistent quarterback with starter Devin Leary out for the season, he saw action in one game against none other than number 14 UNC. He came out swinging, throwing for 143 yards on just a handful of drives. But after a couple unfortunate picks, he returned to the bench as the Pack fell short in Chapel Hill. He wouldn't forget this game because after seeing limited playing time for the next 2 years, it was time for NC State to travel once again to Keenan Memorial Stadium, and Ben Finley was now named the outright starter for the first time in his college career. This was not Plan A for NC State, or Plan B, or Plan C. This was Plan D. But first, we need to get a little background on how this season played out to figure out how Ben ended up being the starter for this game. At the beginning of the 2022 season, the starting quarterback for the Wolfpack was Devin Leary, a seasoned veteran and potential NFL prospect. He started strong, but had his season cut short by a torn pec in a win over Florida State. Entered Jack Chambers, a grad transfer from Charleston Southern. Now, normally when a player from the FCS transfers to a ranked Power 5 team, it means they had a really solid season at their old school to get noticed. But for Jack though, his numbers from Charleston Southern didn't really scream star athlete. And I guess that would make sense because NC State already had their guy. If I had to guess, Dave Doran was probably just looking for a player that's more of a locker room guy, someone to help support Leary, help lead the younger players, and maybe manage the game for a few snaps if Leary gets the wind knocked out of him or something. Being the guy to lead a team in a road matchup against a top 25 team though, that's not what he was built for, and it showed. In his first start at Syracuse, he went 18 for 30 and failed to lead the offense to the end zone for the entire game. They gave him a second chance in their next game against Virginia Tech, but 2 failed drives later, and it was time to call in the wild card. True freshman MJ Morris. And let me tell y'all, my man wasted no time in absolutely slanging that thing. He tallied 265 yards passing and 3 touchdowns with no interceptions. He balled out again against Wake Forest, but after the Pack's loss to Boston College the following week, MJ had a tough decision to make, because for these few games, MJ had been playing with his redshirt status still intact. If you're not aware, the NCAA has this rule where if you play in 4 or less games in a season, then that doesn't count towards your 4 eligible years as a student athlete, meaning you have the option of playing a 5th year if you so choose. Since MJ played a few snaps earlier that year against Charleston Southern, he didn't have any more playing time to give if he wanted to keep his redshirt status. But honestly, this should be a no-brainer. You're the starting quarterback for a top 25 team. You're playing great. The fans love you. No way anyone would give up that opportunity for something as trivial as this. Right? Right? I guess we doing Jack Chambers again.
Quick pass to Houston. He drops it. Pressure coming from the edge. And that's another storyline for the Wolfpack today.
Enter Ben Finn.
Taking a chance. Pressure coming. Finley looking Lassane, incomplete. He steps up. He lost the football. He just threw it away.
Yeesh. Okay. Yeah, this is not looking too good, but this is literally all we've got at this point. Now we're all caught up. Ben Finley is set to have his first ever start in a game that's all too similar to his older brothers against the Steelers. UNC was entering this game ranked number 17 in the country with a 9-2 record and a chance to qualify for a New Year's Six Bowl with a Heisman candidate quarterback that hadn't held back in trash talking leading up to this game.
You know, whether you want to admit it or not, growing up in Carolina, you're going to be a Carolina fan. And some people may say State, but really people go to State just can't get into Carolina.
NC State, on the other hand, had just lost 3 of their last 5 games and now have to play their rival on the road with a 4th-string quarterback as their only hope. You can't make this stuff up. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. UNC started the game with the ball, but a fired-up Pack defense forced a 3-and-out, and the offense kept the energy up with Ben throwing a 50-yard strike to Devin Carter that set up Jack Chambers to punch it in. UNC would get close enough to get on the board with a field goal, but NC State responded with a long drive capped off with Finley passing to Timmons for a 28-yard touchdown. The Heels came back with a long drive and touchdown of their own, and after State managed a field goal at the end of the half, the Pack would go into the locker room with a 7-point lead. After an uneventful third quarter, Drake May locked in and ran in a touchdown himself to tie the game up. But the next time UNC got the ball, the defense was ready and rattled Drake with a blitz that led to the pass getting tipped and picked off. Heisman quarterback right here. Bozo. That gave Ben the perfect opportunity to float one up to Carter again and pull it in to take the lead back. With 4 minutes left in the game, the Heels managed the clock well and finished the regulation with a 4-yard touchdown reception from Antoine Green. Now we're in overtime, and both teams are held to just field goals. Double overtime was looking the same, with NC State stalling out at the goal line and having to punch in a 21-yarder to stay alive, and it looked like UNC would have to do the same thing, but something felt just a little bit off. You see, Noah Burnett had missed a chip shot earlier this game and was having his fair share of kicking woes the entire season, so Doran used his only timeout to try and ice him on the 35-yarder. And sure enough, good snap, good hold, and dying duck wide left. The Pack had done it. Ben Finley, the 4th-string quarterback, had gone on the road and outperformed a guy who would be the 3rd overall draft pick in just a few months. 271 yards and 2 touchdowns to Drake's 231 yards with only 1 touchdown and an interception. Get mogged. After planting the flag at Kenan Stadium, Ben would start in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, but fell flat in a bad loss to Maryland. So he transferred, probably knowing that had he stayed, he'd probably be riding the bench again. Then at Cal in 2023, he lost the starting battle and transferred one last time to Akron, where he was able to start the entire year, but failed to lead the Zips to a winning record. Just like Ryan, his elite potential only lasted 1 game, but I think that's okay because I'm pretty sure that if you asked either one of them, making history, even if it's just for 1 moment, is already a blessing enough. But back to why I made this video. Is this really just a wild coincidence that these 2 brothers had such parallel timelines in their football careers? I mean, think about it. As rookies, they had a brief moment to shine, but ultimately fell short, had to stay on standby as backups until they finally got a second chance. Almost blew it at first, but then when their team needed them the most, they stepped up and led them to victory against a team that, on paper, had every reason to beat them. Then with the job being done, they immediately fell back into obscurity after the greatest game of their lives. There's gotta be something else going on here. That maybe they have like a cursed family jewel that gives them superpowers for the 3.5 hours that they need it the most. Or maybe their parents let the government do experiments on them when they were babies. Or wait, no, wait, I got it. They're actually top secret, specially trained agents that time traveled to the future and then figured out that the only way to avoid all-out nuclear war that would destroy Earth and humanity itself, the Pittsburgh Steelers had to lose to the Bengals in 2020, and the UNC Tar Heels had to lose to the NC State Wolfpack in 2022. And that's why they did what they did. It's genius. How did I not think of this earlier? It was right there. It was right there in front of us. Like, it makes so much sense now. The lines connect. You're witnessing history here. Or no, you're witnessing future. I'm a genius. Stay safe out there.